Let's learn some advanced work idioms to help you build your vocabulary. I'm going to talk about the meaning of each phrase, how it's used, as well as go over the pronunciation so that you can say them just like me. And I know that you probably work hard when it comes to learning idioms, and I'm sure that you are willing to go the extra mile. And let's begin with that idiom right there, to go the extra mile. This is commonly used when talking about work because it means to do more than what is expected of you. I like to think that I try to go the extra mile when putting together these lessons. I'm sure when it comes to your job, you also try to go the extra mile. There are two things that I want to point out when it comes to using this idiom because I often hear mistakes. Just keep in mind that this is a fixed expression, to go the extra mile. Sometimes people see go and they want to just add to after it, to go to the extra mile. No. Go the extra mile. The other thing is that you're always going to use the definite article the. So just remember, it's a fixed phrase, to go the extra mile.
Way to go the extra mile. Your Meemaw would be proud.
I go the extra mile.
Now I've been thinking about it all day, and I have a plan to go the extra mile.
For pronunciation, I just want you to keep in mind that the definite article the has two different pronunciations, a strong form and a weak form. We're going to use the strong form the when the next word begins with a vowel sound, and the weak form the when the next word begins with a consonant sound. This is more of a general rule. You may not always hear people follow this, but it is something to keep in mind, to go the extra mile. And if you would like to continue going the extra mile, please subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. That way I can become your teacher. My name is Wes. The channel is Interactive English. It's all about trying to help you reach your fluency goals. And, learning these idioms will certainly help you improve your overall fluency and sound more natural, especially at work. Now, it is going to be a little difficult to learn idioms. I'm not going to lie. You definitely have your work cut out for you. And I want to continue with that idiom right there, to have your work cut out for you. This means to have something very difficult to do. And it's really a way of adding emphasis. So instead of saying, well, that's going to be difficult for you, I can just use this idiom. You have your work cut out for you. And you don't always have to use for someone. I could say, you have your work cut out to learn these work idioms. And the other thing I want you to think about is the grammar, because you have a subject pronoun, a possessive adjective, as well as an object pronoun. He has his work cut out for him. She has her work cut out for her. They have their work cut out for them. When pronouncing this idiom, there are two things that I want to mention. The first is that the final T in cut, you're going to hear me pronounce it as a flap T. It's going to sound more like a soft D. This is very common when talking about the American accent, and yes, I am from the United States. And often people are going to use a flap T when it comes between two vowel sounds. The next thing is that linking may occur, and this is when we link the final consonant sound of one word with the beginning vowel sound of the next word. So let's think about that phrase, cut out. I can link that flap T with the vowel sound in out, cut out, to have your work cut out for you. Just listen for it.
They've got their work cut out for them.
Hey, listen, just so you know, you might have your work cut out for you.
Well, we have our work cut out for us.
Santa's got his work cut out for him.
Now, improving your speaking and pronunciation takes time. I could certainly say that you have your work cut out for you. But if you're willing to go the extra mile, there's an app that can help you. So let me quickly tell you about the sponsor of today's lesson, ELSA Speak. This is an app that I originally heard about from many of you, so let's check it out. And it's really easy. You download the app and you can start exploring. And I'm amazed at all the different things that you can do. You can have AI conversations, practice daily lessons, improve pronunciation. Let's say that there's a specific topic that you're interested in, like work. Just go to study by topic, work and career, and there are so many different lessons to choose from. But I think one of the coolest parts of the app is to practice words and phrases that you want to learn. So I can just put in, I plan to go the extra mile, and then listen to it.
I plan to go the extra mile.
And then practice saying it. I plan to go the extra mile. Now, let me show you what happens if I make a couple of speaking mistakes. I plan to go the extra mile. As you can see, you get instant feedback, which then allows you to try and make adjustments. So use the link in the description or scan the QR code you see on the screen to download ELSA and get 7 days of a pro membership for free. And you can use the other link in the description to get 85% off a lifetime membership or 40% off a 1-year membership. So if you are looking to go the extra mile, check out the links and discounts below. Let's get back to our lesson and learn more useful and advanced work idioms. And the next one that I have for you is to pull your weight. This is a great idiom when talking about working in a group because it means to work as hard as others in a group, to pull your weight. In order to meet the deadline, everyone on the team has to pull their own weight. Now, you may hear people use the word own in between the possessive adjective and the noun. To pull your own weight, to pull his own weight, to pull her own weight. Or I could say, Wes is just not working hard right now. He's not pulling his weight. Often you may hear people use this with the negative to say someone is not doing their fair share of work. Wes is not pulling his weight. When pronouncing this idiom, I think it's pretty simple and straightforward to pull your weight.
We haven't done that in years.
Thank you.
You've really been pulling your weight around here.
7 a winner. Way to go, Flanders! The Bible's finally pulling its weight.
Then we have to pick up the slack. This is another great idiom when talking about working with a group because it means to improve a situation by doing something that someone has not done or completed. So if some work has not been completed, maybe you have to pick up the slack. With this idiom, I often get asked, well, where does it come from? And if we do a quick search, we learn that the origin comes from sailing. When a sailor is pulling a line, a rope, there's likely to be some amount of slack in the line he's putting down. Another sailor is needed to pick up the slack and ensure the line doesn't get tangled. So if you are working in a group, you may need to pick up the slack if someone calls in sick. You may need to pick up the slack if a member of your team goes on vacation. Or you may need to pick up the slack if someone is just being a slacker. And a slacker is an informal noun for someone who is lazy and does not work very hard. And if you are working with someone else who is a slacker, then yes, you may need to pick up the slack. When pronouncing this idiom, more linking may occur. We can link the final consonant sound in pick with the beginning vowel sound in up. Pick up, to pick up the slack.
We're all going to have to dig deep and band together to pick up the slack while your mother recovers.
And with Roy going, we got a smaller crew, and I'm picking up all of his slack, so I think I should be compensated fairly by getting a raise.
On the same page. This means agreeing about something, really about how something should be done. So if people are on the same page, then they just really understand each other. And in order for us to be on the same page when it comes to using this idiom, I have some funny memes that I want to share with you. We may not be on the same page, but we can at least try to be on the same chapter. I'm glad we're on the same page and that both of our minds are in the gutter. And if you say that your mind is in the gutter, it just means that you're thinking about inappropriate things. We may have been on the same page, but I think we were actually in different books. So in this case, yeah, they really don't understand each other. When pronouncing this idiom, again, I think it's pretty simple and straightforward. One thing I want to mention, because I talked about the strong and weak the, in this case, I'm going to use the weak form, the, because the next word begins with a consonant sound. On the same page.
Only way that I could get back to a normal life.
Hey, I get it. We're on the same page.
What do you mean? I mean, him and us. We get it. We're all on the same page.
What page is that?
The next idiom is up to par. This means to be at the usual or expected standard. I hope that you think this lesson is up to par. It is at the expected standard. Now, I included not because often people are going to use this with the negative to say that something is not up to par. It is not at the expected standard. I might say, well, his presentation was not up to par. Or I went to the new restaurant and yeah, I just didn't think the food was up to par. When pronouncing this idiom, again, you're going to hear me pronounce the final T in not as a flap T, and then I'm going to link it with the vowel sound in up. Not up. Not up to par. The other thing I want you to keep in mind is that the word to has a strong and weak form as well. And most of the time you're going to hear that weak form because it's unstressed and it's going to sound more like it has a schwa sound. T. It's much softer. Not up to par. Not up to par. Just listen for those two things.
So if I'm not up to par performance-wise...
Jim, this isn't exactly a turn-on.
There's a thing called Proposition 48. It says that if your grades aren't up to par, you can take the SAT. If you score 700 or more, you can get into college.
Actually, this is perfect. I wanted to head over to Thayer Street and do a walking tour of ethnic foods. You can't be moving here if the shawarma is not up to par.
Next is learn the ropes. This means to learn or know how to do a job or activity. So whenever you start a new job, this is just something you have to do. You have to learn the ropes. When I began making these video lessons, I was learning the ropes. There were many things that, well, they weren't necessarily related to teaching, editing, creating thumbnails, and it took me some time to learn the ropes. Keep in mind that you may follow this idiom with the preposition of, to learn the ropes of something. To give you a better idea as to how it's used in context, I have some news headlines for you. Sharing ties to Ukraine, students learn the ropes of tennis. Pupils and staff learn the ropes. Firefighters learn the ropes during rescue course. When pronouncing this idiom, I think it's pretty straightforward, but once again, we're going to use that weak the because the next word begins with a consonant sound, to learn the ropes.
It's his first week on the job, so he's still learning the ropes.
He's been very patient. I've been learning the ropes around here.
Then there's hit the ground running. This means to immediately work hard and successfully at a new activity. And I just want you to keep in mind we're talking about a new activity, and that is the context in which you would use this idiom. And you really just want to emphasize that you're going to work hard and you're going to hit the ground running. I could say the new project starts on Monday and we're going to hit the ground running. Or when I started my new job, I didn't get much of an orientation. I just had to hit the ground running. For pronunciation, keep in mind that elision may occur. This is when sounds or syllables get removed. And it sometimes happens with the t and d sounds when they come between two consonants. So that final D in the word ground, it comes between two consonants, so it elides. You don't really hear it. To hit the ground running. To hit the ground running.
Well, we need somebody who can hit the ground running.
Right now, I just don't have the time for it. I have to hit the ground running.
How was your day?
Superb. This morning, I made a palindrome with my alphabets. A nice hat, Bob to Haken.
Sounds like you hit the ground running.
Next is burn the midnight oil. I like this idiom because I think I can kind of relate to it. It means to work really late at night. And you could use this instead of saying like, oh, you're working late tonight. I could say you're burning the midnight oil. Keep in mind that I think often people will use this in the continuous tense because they're talking about right now. You see someone at the office and you say, wow, you're burning the midnight oil.
Burning the midnight oil.
It's only 11:45.
Take a break.
Oh, Bing, burning the midnight oil.
You know me, sir.
For pronunciation, I just want to focus on the word oil because it can be a little tricky. You have that vowel sound, which is a diphthong, oi, followed by that dark L, oil, oil. And when you put it all together, it's still one syllable. So let's practice. Repeat after me. Oil. Burning the midnight oil. Excellent. The next idiom, up to speed. This is when you have all the latest information about a subject or activity, then yeah, you are up to speed. I could say, I didn't go to the meeting. Could someone please get me up to speed? Or maybe she didn't attend class yesterday. Perhaps one of the other students will help bring her up to speed. And I really just want to point out that you may often use this idiom with those verbs. They're really collocations. To get someone up to speed or to bring someone up to speed. When pronouncing this idiom, you hear me say it with that weak to, which sounds more like "t," up to speed. Just listen for it.
Let me bring you up to speed.
Just want to bring everyone up to speed, okay?
Let's get the crew up to speed.
So, get me up to speed.
Then we have cut corners. And yeah, I think we've all cut corners before. This means to save money or time when doing something by not including parts, actions, or details. So the final result is really not as good as it could be. So you may use this idiom when commenting on someone else's work. Perhaps they didn't really do a good job. They were trying to save time. The quality's not that great. You could say, yeah, they really cut corners. To give you some more context, here are some funny jokes. Think quality. Don't cut corners. And as you can see, the corner of the sign is cut. Or, I had to cut a few corners. This big radar-looking thing is a wall clock, and most of the buttons are glued on. So the quality's probably not that great. And then don't work hard, work intelligent. Cut corners, because it's easier to roll a ball than push a box, and you just got to cut those corners. When pronouncing this idiom, it's pretty straightforward. You do have some alliteration with that k sound when saying cut corners, to cut corners.
You can't cut corners in life. You know who cut corners? Kennedy. When he was running the Bay of Pigs.
You even know what we're talking about. Oh, let me guess. Cutting corners and stupid get-rich-quick scheme.
Wow, it must be expensive to produce all these cartoons.
Well, we cut corners. Sometimes to save money, our animators will reuse the same background.
Then there's to have something on your plate. This means to have something, usually a large amount of important work to deal with. And most of the time, people are going to say a lot instead of something, and it really implies that you're talking about work or just important things that you have to do, to have a lot on your plate. I could say, I know that you probably have a lot on your plate, but after this lesson, I'd love it if you write to me in the comments because I just like hearing from you. When pronouncing this phrase, if I'm going to use a lot on your plate, a lot on my plate, the final T in lot, I'm going to pronounce it as a flap T, and then we can link it with the vowel sound in on. A lot on your plate, a lot on my plate.
And she's doing her best, you know? She's got a lot on her plate. She's got school, she's got work.
Give me some time, okay? I have a lot on my plate.
No problem. I get it.
Day at the office, Cookie? I've just got a lot on my plate. It's not easy being in the spotlight. It's the difficult road I've chosen.
Now for a little review. I know there is a lot to take in with these vocabulary lessons, and that's why I don't like to waste time. When the lesson begins, we just hit the ground running, because my goal is to try to bring you up to speed with all the latest information as to how these idioms are used. But you're still going to need to work hard, and it may require you to burn the midnight oil from time to time. I don't know, maybe it's really late at night right now as you're watching this. But even if you have a lot on your plate and you're busy at work or at home or with other activities, don't cut corners. You may miss something important and nobody's going to be around to pick up the slack. Building your vocabulary, this is all on you, and you certainly have your work cut out for you. Now, if you still feel like your vocabulary skills are not up to par, then I would recommend that you watch another video lesson, and I'm sure you will because you seem like someone who always goes the extra mile. But I'm going to leave it there, so if you enjoyed the lesson and learned something new, let me know by hitting that like button. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. So long.